Welcome to Wandering the Wild Mess, the podcast for anyone starting over, navigating a new chapter, or rewriting their story. I'm Heather Morgan, and if you've ever thought to yourself, what am I doing with my life? You're in the right place. Here we take the lessons in the messes, reframe the hard moments, and remember that even the wildest stories always work out. I'm so happy you're here. Now let's wander this wild mess together. So you're striving to be that best version of yourself, hoping that one day you'll finally be able to say, "Look at me now." But what happens when self-improvement slowly turns your entire life into a performance review and you really stop living? Welcome to Wandering the Wild Mess with Heather Morgan. I am so happy that you're here. All right, I want to talk about something that I've talked about so much on the podcast. And it's something that I think a lot of people that if you're here, you've likely started over at some point or another in your life. And you know that post glow breakup, glow up, whatever, or whenever you get your heart broken, everybody wants to hit the gym, do the best things, change your life. You totally often shift your focus on how can I make myself better? And that's so many of us. And I love that because personal growth is my jam. I do believe we're here for expansion and growth, but I want to talk about something that I don't think that enough people are talking about, but a lot of us are likely feeling, especially after changing your life and starting over and doing something new, is that you get so hung up on this self-improvement, self-optimization that you can truly stop living. Like somewhere along the way, a lot of us can stop living. And I know I'm not the only one on this island, I'm sure, because I think part of starting over when you really sit with yourself, and I think most people get there after their life changes. They sit and hopefully self-reflect and look in the mirror and they're like, how can I be better? Which is beautiful. But what I realized in my own journey recently and why I wanted to just relate this with y'all and like talk it through because I know I can't be the only one feeling it is that I realized in the last year or so as I've been on this journey that I have tried so hard to figure out the best ways to make myself the best that I could possibly be. And it's been a lot. And we know I've talked about identity a lot in the episodes, and that's really where we're moving through. But I realized that I was starting to want to optimize everything. Everything I did, I was questioning, oh, is that the right move? Is that the right move? And I have my own discernment. I can make these decisions. But what I was worried about was that almost that freeze that you get with perfection so you don't move things along. And I was doing that in a lot of areas in my life, like not waiting to be perfect to do it because you guys are listening to the podcast. It's not always perfect. And I do that purposely for y'all because I want to show that life isn't always perfect and it's just, it is. And there's something beautifully wonderful in it being messy. But then in my own quiet life, I was, how do I do better? How can I get better? And I just put so much pressure on myself. And I started thinking about it and it was like I wanted to heal perfectly. I wanted to do the most productive thing. I'm trying to become my higher self. I'm tracking habits. I'm listening to Atomic Habits. Great book, by the way. It's linked on my bio or on my website, my bio, wanderingthewildmess.com. But I'm doing all this self-improvement stuff. And then I woke up one day and I realized some things that I've talked about before. I didn't go on any dates. I went on one, that'll be a story for another time, but out of a year and a half. And I didn't do a lot of living. I was like in this improving optimization mode, which I think is a beautiful season in its own right, right? Sitting with yourself and doing that. But it starts becoming exhausting to think about yourself like in the corporate world, like you're some product and then I'm getting all the KPIs, like key performance indicators. Like what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What do I you know what I mean? And that was my whole life is like, no, you can't go out. You can't do this. You got to do this. You got to get enough sleep. You got to, and don't get me wrong, I want healthy, good habits in my life, but I don't want to have so many habits in my life that I'm not even living it anymore. And I think there's this dance that I'm starting to realize that is life where you can optimize your life out of fun and joy and presence and living in the moment. You can want things to be so perfect that you never even live your life. And I started realizing that recently when I passed on a couple of things that would have been really exciting for me to do that I just thought I had all these other things to do and I didn't do. And you still want to move in alignment, right? Don't force yourself to create fun if it's not the move. But also don't eliminate that because so much beauty comes from the joy. And I think I'm realizing I'm trying really hard now to find that balance between the messy, fun me and the put together, optimized, more calm, less spontaneous me. Because I'm both, and neither one of them is wrong. But for a while, I was like, oh my gosh, and there's things I've done in the past that I'm like, okay, that girl is not coming back. But there's other pieces where I'm like, live your life. And I feel like a lot of people, like, literally saw this guy talk about how it's like between, I mean, some people are extreme, and I'm not at this level yet, and I'm not judging people for wanting to do things to make their life better. Like, if that truly feeds your soul. But when we're like not even open to life anymore because we're just trying to be like the best version of ourselves, I think we start missing the point of this human experience. And the reason why this like calls me so much and I just want to share it with you. Again, I'm never telling you how to live your life. You have it in your soul. What's the move for you? But if you got caught in this loop and trap of thinking, I'm just optimizing myself in my life, and then it started getting exhausting because you're like, I need to actually enjoy the time I have here too. And I can do both things. And I was talking to a friend the other night, and this is where it pulled me. And I want to tell you this because you probably need to hear it if there's things going on in your life and you are, doubting or shaming yourself or like wishing that you were further along. I feel like these are all themes throughout my podcast because I know there's such a daunting, exhausting, overwhelming human experience. And when I saw statistics this week that was saying 80% of men are like think of suicide and 1 in 3 women are depressed, I'm like, yeah, because we're probably in our heads all the time about needing to be better, that our life should be better. Because if we had more fun and we had more joy and we had more connection, we would have less time to be thinking about how our life isn't the way that we want it to be. So we should probably not be here. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't want that for us because I know we all have such a purpose. But when we're always looking at our life like a performance review, oh, if I'm not in this job, if I don't have a partner, if I don't have this house, if I don't have this thing, then I'm doing it wrong. And those metrics, comparing like putting those, like we're not a constant project. Yes, improve, evolve, grow, learn, reflect. But don't set your mind as if you're a failure, because that isn't, not only is it not true, it's not helpful in you getting the best experience from this life, is to doubt yourself so heavily that you literally question why you're here. But when you're having fun, when you're laughing so hard with people you care about, I know you're happy you're here. And I let me tie it back to kind of why this pulled at my heartstring. I've been realizing that I need to be in the world more. I've been more intentional about saying yes to things that feel aligned and putting myself back out there. I think I talked about this before in an earlier episode. Like last year, I traveled a lot for work and things, but I really did not do a lot. I didn't date at all. I didn't have any talking stages. I just literally was working on myself for like an entire year of my life. And it was one of the hardest years I've ever had, if I'm honest. It and which was wild because it wasn't even the year of my divorce, but it was I was not feeling all the feelings early on because I was numbing and running and not feeling it when the divorce first happened. You just are so overwhelmed that I don't even think you can fully actually process everything happening. So when people tell me they're just getting divorced, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a journey. Because it's not like, oh, 6 months post divorce, the world just is wonderful again. Like there is a journey you're embarking on. And so if you're just starting that, I see you and I love you and I feel you and I'm here for you and will listen through, binge the whole podcast, babe. That's what I can say. But so this came up. I realized, so I was reflecting on that. I'm like, okay, this year I'm back out in the world and I've done a little bit of better of a job, which is why I went on the one date that I've been on. But I'm working on that. But again, see, I'm always working on something. So but one thing I did do is I was like, I need to connect more with people. So I'm being more intentional about even calling people. Sometimes I just don't want to burden myself with or burden others with my problems. So I don't reach out when I should. So I'm not a great texter. So all of these things, even though I do have some really great people in my life. So I felt this pull and I've been listening to my pulls. And sometimes it's literally me just texting like 8 people, 8 of my friends and family and just saying like, "Hey, I just wanna tell you I'm proud of you. I love you." Like, sometimes I literally get those pulls and I listen to them. And I got this pull to reach out to one of my friends and just call her out of the blue that I hadn't talked to in a little bit. I was thinking about her. She came on my mind, so I called her. And we're talking and, I'm catching her up because we haven't talked in a while, and she was asking about the date and just keeping it really light, asking a lot about me. And I was like, "Sure, I haven't whatever." So I'm catching her up and then we get to her and I felt something and she ends up telling me that her healthy as can be mother that's never gets sick, always just healthy, was diagnosed with cancer. And I'm thinking about it as she's telling me and I'm processing. And it's one of those things where you start realizing that even if she was optimizing her health and doing everything, sometimes we try to optimize everything because we want control. Like it hit me. Like we want to think, okay, if I don't put myself out there in a relationship, I won't get hurt. If I do all the right exercises and eat all the healthy foods, I won't have to deal with illness. If I do this and this, but life doesn't work like that. And yes, there's probability. Of course, if you're more healthy and active, you're decreasing your odds. Yes, of course, you want the odds in your favor. You should do things that are good for your body and mind. But we do not have the ability in this human experience to control every outcome. And sometimes the reason we're trying to optimize so hard is that we think we can fully protect ourselves from things that we cannot. And I thought to myself, not only was I just Of course, my heart's just going out for her family, and I'm sending so many prayers, and I know that it's going to be a journey. And it's really, I think, one of those things where you realize there's a lot of points and times in your life where you are not just starting over, but starting anew. Like, this is a whole new thing for her and her family to navigate. And joy is important when you have to hold to hope and faith that it will always work out. Because what else do you have? And there's no optimizing that can be done. I mean, there is, I'm sure there's things she can do, but it's like none of that really even matters now because in her head, it's like, she was telling me this, like that her mom's like, but I was always just so good. How can this happen? And you realize that even in our lives, a lot of things happen like that. Like you could be the best at your job and still get let go. You could think you have the best relationship or marriage and you could still end in divorce. Am I saying this to scare you? No, because I don't think fear serves us at all. But I'm saying it in a way to reflect and realize that we almost have to let go of trying to control outcomes by optimizing ourselves into a life that we cannot promise. We can increase odds, but nothing is foolproof. And of course, no one wants to get those kind of life quaking news, just like the day that my father died, like changed my trajectory of my life, changed everything I knew. And I had no control over it, right? There was nothing, I couldn't have been a better daughter. I couldn't have done something different. It just was. And there's so many things I think back still on that with all of this, just to say that when we start using our life as just how can I be the best I can be instead of how can I actually live and connect with people. And I know me calling her meant so much. Like I didn't know that was going on. And she had mentioned that her mom didn't really want a lot of people to know, but of course I wouldn't, I'm not close to enough to her mother for me to matter. We don't live in the same state. But I feel like her even being able to tell me and say it out loud felt good because she can talk to a lot of people about it. And that's so important for us to connect instead of to stay closed off. I realized during my whole trying to work on myself healing journey, like I isolated so much. I mean, there were actual multiple days where I didn't speak to another human being. And that does something to you when you're so isolated from the world. And I think a lot of people, when they start over, when they do their healing journey, when they can get stuck in that over processing and stop living. And it's like you got to find that right dance, right? Because the old me at the beginning of the Wandering Wild Mess was just like traveling and doing things and keeping so busy that she didn't have to ever sit with herself and she didn't have to deal with any of her emotions. She could just move through the world like delusional and la la and nothing mattered. But then she wasn't feeling her real life. But then you have the other one where all she's doing is feeling and feeling and feeling and feeling so much she doesn't even have a life anymore. She's just feeling everything, but not doing much of anything. And I do think it served its purpose. There was a lot of things from the past I processed and felt. So I'm not saying it's not a necessary season, but at some point you have to move into a new season because your whole identity can get wrapped up in healing and becoming your best self. And sometimes your best self is someone that is a human that's imperfect, that lives a life and makes mistakes and does things that, oh, that probably wasn't the best, but it's okay. Like, I learned, I moved on, I had an experience. If I would have just thought, no, I just got to focus, I'm going to listen to music and clean my house instead of calling a friend, like, I would have missed out on a conversation I know I was meant to have. And so I think that even when it comes to a lot of people doing a lot of things in their life, like right now, they're like, I'm just done. I'm not dating. I'm not doing this. I'm not, and I totally get it. But I have a new perspective that I think that we are meant to protect our peace in some way. But if what is peace if if there's no joy, if there's no human connection that is part of this whole reason? And I think it's easy to get stuck in separating yourself from it once you start healing, especially after divorce or like heartbreak, because there's a lot of feelings like, I never want to go through that again. I never want to feel let down by someone. I never want to feel like anyone could just leave me. I don't want to feel abandoned. I don't want to feel the heartbreak. I don't want to feel neglected, not chosen, not loved. So I'm just going to avoid it all together, and then I'll go that route. But if it's for the purpose of preventing pain so that you can have a false sense of safety that pain will never find you, I hate to be the one to say it and I hate to admit it to myself, but that's not how it works. And I will kind of end this by telling you a thought that I've had recently, or I have it a lot actually, about my dog, because he's the best dog ever. And I always think, how could I ever get a better dog? And it's so sad that dogs don't live as long as us, right? Like, truly. And I know there's going to be a day that I'm not going to have him anymore. And I think about how, like, how could I ever get a dog again? And I saw this man write about that same kind of an thought, because I'd had it a lot and then I came across it. And he thought he would never have another dog again, and then he found one. And the way that he, like, articulated it was so beautiful, in the sense that he was like, that level of pain was worth all of the love that I had all of those years with him. And it's absolutely true. I wouldn't change I wouldn't not have a dog just because he's going to die one day, right? But a lot of us are living a life so guarded from the joy of having a dog, having things, close connections, people that could hurt us, situations, experiences, because we're like, well, I don't want to feel the pain. So I'm just not going to get a dog. I'm just not going to go on that date. I'm just not going to take that trip. I'm going to stay home tonight instead. But we don't know what we're missing, because anyone that loves their dog so much knows exactly that they would not say never mind. They will gladly take the pain of losing them for all of the love and joy they get now. We just don't know. And so enjoying all of the moments we can, the most that we can, and not just optimizing ourselves out of life is really what I'm trying to get across to you. And I'll end this by saying that what I feel in my soul is that maybe becoming your best self isn't about perfecting yourself. Maybe it's about becoming more present, more connected, and more alive while you're here. Laughing more, loving more, calling people, going outside, letting yourself live. Finding the balance that makes life feel like an enjoyable journey, not a never ending project. If you have someone in your life that you know needs to hear this episode, please send it to them. Please do. And if this helped you heal your heart a little, make sure to rate or give a review to the podcast. It really helps other people to find it. And that's really what I'm here to do, is help us all wander this wild mess. Because life is fragile, beautiful, unpredictable, and deeply human. I don't think we're just here to optimize it. I think we're here to live it. So go do something fun right now, something that makes you smile. This was Wandering the Wild Mess with Heather Morgan. You matter. Thank you for wandering the wild mess with me. If today's episode helped you see your story a little differently, I'm so glad. Make sure to share it with someone else who might need it. Keep listening for more lessons, reframes, and reminder that your path is unfolding exactly as it should. Until then, keep trusting the mess.